right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily and Also Curious. As always, we've got a million things to talk about, as we usually do. Bunch of news from Hollywood. We're going to talk about Superman, more new artwork, and maybe some Easter eggs we missed in the Superman trailer, as well as some additional footage, some new Superman footage that we didn't get in the main trailer, but we did get in some NBA promotional advertisements and ads and what they've been airing over at TNT as part of the NBA playoffs promoting Superman. We'll talk about that. We have some Marvel news to get into as always. We're going to check in on what's going on with Legend of Zelda coming out in 2027, maybe facing some stiff competition because Godzilla times Kong Supernova comes out the same weekend. Is one of those movies going to flinch and move off that date? Sonic 4 comes out the week before. We also have to consider that. We're looking back at the Cannes Film Festival and all that did happen or did not happen. And of course, the recent proposed Charter-Cox merger. What does that mean for the TV that we watch if you still have cable, if you have internet service from one of those companies? What will that mean for you? And what's next with the merged organization that probably has even more subscribers than Comcast? So we'll get into that. Bridgerton also. We'll talk about that, some new news regarding that show if you're a fan of it on Netflix, of course. We also then have to talk about Krypto. And is Krypto Superman's dog? Is he? Is he actually? Well, we may have some insight from David Corenswet, who plays Superman in the new movie. And Wonder Woman. Okay, so James Gunn has recently said there's a positive development regarding Wonder Woman. And we decided it's about damn time to do an updated fan casting and see who might be a good fit for the new movie, or movie or TV show, depending on what it is that we're gonna get from the DCU. We are getting Paradise Lost, which may or may not feature Wonder Woman. So let's talk about who might be playing the new Amazonian princess. Now, do that and so much more. As always, we're gonna hit that news intro and get things started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. And you're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Corenswet.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, hi. Welcome back. Yep, there it is. There's me. And joining me today to talk about the news and so much more is, as always, John. How are you doing today?
Doing a little bit better than the other day, but you know, we're getting through it. We're doing all the things. We are. God, no matter how much I look at it, my camera always looks crooked. But I'll try to figure out a way to make it look better. But yeah,
it's all good. It's all good. A little bit of inside baseball there. There you go. Okay, well, you try to fix that. Let's dive into the news, shall we? Because, well, the first thing that we're going to talk about, John, recently we got the news. It's been a little while since the news actually came out, but I think it's worth talking about. We usually don't talk a ton about the business of Hollywood, but when we do, it's because we think it's consequential to us as fans, like whether, we were watching movies or TV shows. And Charter and Cox, they're the number 2 and 3 biggest cable and okay, John, they're the number 2 and 3 biggest cable and internet service providers in the US, and now they're going to be merging together into one joint company that's eventually going to become known as Cox Communications, I think, is part of the deal.
Okay, out of the two names, why do you gotta go with that one? Why not stick with Charter? Why you gotta go with the Cox one? Because then you're gonna get giggles. I understand it's a person's name, but like, come on.
I think it's because Cox is the bigger company, technically. They're also privately owned, whereas Charter is more of a public anyway, without going into all the little itty-bitty details, I mean, yeah, the business of Hollywood, you can read this article on Deadline that I've got up, and you can also go find other articles from, Hollywood Reporter and many other outlets. basically it's a combined blockbuster deal valued at $34.5 billion. There's some debt along the way that's kind of mixed into that. I think one of the companies brings in a few $billion in debt that they're going to be valuing against this deal. So with that in mind, the reason why I bring this up is not so much to talk about the business, the numbers part of it. The big thing about this is going to be when they combine together, they're going to have more subscribers in total than Comcast does. So we know the amount of weight and power that Comcast has that they throw around, quite frankly, because they've got, NBC Universal Pictures, and they recently got the NBA rights, and they're going after a bunch of other big, properties. And they bought Sky when that was being sold by the old, Fox, when they sold a bunch of their stuff to Disney. Sky, which is a huge part of the British, and greater European media business. Comcast bought it. So the reason that I want to discuss this Charter and Cox merger is, John, recently we have had Comcast spinning off their traditional TV networks into Versant. Warner Brothers Discovery has split itself in half internally to basically do kind of something similar, where a lot of their television networks like TNT, True TV, TBS, they're all going to be a part of one side of the company, and then the studios and streaming services like Warner Brothers Pictures, HBO Max, HBO, DC Studios, New Line Cinemas, and the other half of the company. So they might do the same. They might spin off their networks into its own company. And Versant new CEO said that they might be looking to acquire things in the future once they're up and running in a couple of years' time. So they might be in the market to do something where they go out and pluck off all of those things from Warner Brothers, all the networks that they're potentially going to spin off. But then you have Charter and Cox. They already own, Time Warner Cable merged into Charter a while ago. So they own some local networks and stuff. And so they're pitching themselves as still a large, even though they're a huge nationwide company, they're regional in the sense that they don't own any national broadcasting network like a CBS or an NBC like Comcast does, or an ABC like Disney does. But they own a lot of local, regional, TV stations. But do you think that once they are combined into one bigger company, that they're going to go after somebody like a Versant, or they might go after those networks that, Warner Brothers wants to probably get rid of? Do you think that's where we are headed, that this might end up being a situation where Charter and Cox, the new combined company, goes after and buys a bunch of networks and maybe even a studio? I know Paramount just got bought by Skydance, but you still have a Sony out there, which might be sold off still. Lionsgate might be up for grabs, or even smaller ones. We know that A24 is doing really well, but its up and coming competitors are looking to potentially get acquired. What was the company behind Anora? Why am I forgetting their name?
Neon.
Neon. They are looking to get sold. So do you think that's where they're going next? They're going to try to get into the big players once Charter and Cox are a combined company?
It's entirely possible.
I mean, and then what do you think that has a big impact on, again, because they are already a big presence depending on where you are in the country, and because of the way cable works in the US, there's not a lot of overlap. You either have Cox available or Charter, and now I guess it will all become one option. It's not monopolistic because Comcast is still pretty damn big, but I don't know, John. Do you?
I still use a dish. No, I'm just kidding.
How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on our daily lives, whether it's internet, TV, even movies, if they go after a big movie studio?
It's probably unlikely. It's just they just kind of have to, because with how cable is dwindling. Yeah, they still have internet and phone, but honestly, it's really just internet. Nobody has a home phone anymore, and nobody fucking has cable anymore. So it's kind of just well, we kind of just have to, because we just don't have the money to support this, because 2 out of the 3 things that these cable companies offered at one point, they're just not viable anymore, because they don't have enough to really sustain the whole cable narrative. And the whole phone is a little bit better, but still not a ton of, everyone has a cell phone, so it's the home phones seem a little pointless. So They kind
Yeah,
of just have to
it's
because
mostly people
that's
have
where it
like I
is.
have internet and I just have internet now. I don't have home. Yeah, I got rid of home phone. Yeah, most people just have internet services with them. But I mean, Comcast wants to, shove down a digital TV box down my throat for free, but I refuse to accept it anyway.
Mhm.
But I mean, hey, John, look, they do have Spectrum News, which has a big presence in a lot of markets like New York City and LA. Once they bought Time Warner Cable, Charter did. But the other thing is the new company's combined headquarters. They're going to be in Stamford, Connecticut, which is where Charter currently is based. So the new company will be called Cox Communications. Their big HQ in Stamford will still be in Stamford. I actually drive by it all the time for my day job. And then Cox's current campus in Atlanta will stay intact. So overall, though, I mean, look, here's what I'm predicting. My prediction to this is this merger, while they're pitching it as, okay, we're still going to be a regionally based they're going to focus on regional businesses that they have, and a lot of what they have is regional in terms of the networks and their presence, being in communities and not being a nationwide player like Comcast is with NBC Universal, then NBC Network and the Universal Pictures and the theme parks. I think in the long term, that's what Charter Cox wants to do. And there's opportunities right now for them to get into that, considering like Comcast is spinning off a bunch of its networks. Warner Brothers might be doing the same. Paramount even is considering that, and maybe after the Skydance merger might do the same. Charter Cox will have the money in the bank, and they'll have maybe the means to go and spend it. So let us know in the comments down below, guys, what you think about this merger and what it means for the world of movies and television. And well, if you are a subscriber of Charter and Cox, are you excited for what's coming down the pike for you guys? Let us know in the comments down below. In the meantime, we're gonna move on to our next story, John. And well, we have to do a little bit of not a retrospective. We're gonna do that a little bit later, but let's talk about how at Cannes Film Festival, which is the latest example, but it happens all the time in film festivals. Standing ovations. We've talked about this before. I think Liz was even on the conversation, but standing ovations, it seems like are a little bit overrated, or maybe it's become a performative act. Overkill. It's maybe like it's performative in the sense that people feel compelled now to do it. It's almost become like film festival etiquette. Does it mean anything if your film gets a standing ovation? I saw this article recently in the Hollywood Reporter, and these articles seem to come out literally every year now because we're always talking about it. Like Guillermo del Toro's, Pan's Labyrinth in 2006 got a 22-minute standing ovation, which is quite, even by today's standards, quite insane.
Deserving.
But that was deserving because the movie still to this day is looked at as a masterpiece. But nowadays it happens just more and more and more. And I'll give you a few examples before I get you
like Mission Impossible
opinion on this.
Getting a standing ovation.
Yeah, well, Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning got a 7.5-minute standing ovation. I mean, Tom Cruise.
And who times this shit? Who times it?
They time it because now, like Variety and Deadline, and they release these numbers, and they'll, so maybe that's part of the problem. But again, this wasn't the only example. Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love with Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence, they got a 9-minute standing ovation. Eddington got a standing ovation, a 5-minute standing ovation, which apparently, if you see the video, it brought Joaquin Phoenix to tears a little bit. So it begs the question: do you think they're doing this simply because it's expected now? Like, that's when you're in the audience, you're like, all right, well, now we're gonna get up and clap until people stop clapping, I guess, and however long that takes. Do you think this is being done because more and more news outlets cover the length of time? It's become like a statistical thing, like, oh, if we love this movie, we want this movie to get the longest standing ovation of any movie, at the festival this year. So we're just going to keep doing it for as long as we can. And, it's like then it just becomes a groupthink kind of a problem. What do you think is the truth behind standing ovations at all these festivals, especially Cannes, which is one of the biggest festivals of the year? Do you think these standing ovations are genuine at this point, or is this just performative? Is it only because is it because that's just what's expected, or what the people feel is expected of them? Where are you on that conversation?
I think it's a bit much. I mean, it's kind of cool that it's like, oh, this great movie got this amount of standing ovation, but like at the same time, it's like it's a bit. If you're giving a standing ovation to Mission Impossible 8, come on, like
You
really?
know, it's like, so do you think this is a matter of like these standing ovations aren't now just for the fact that the movie is amazing? Maybe it's referring to specific things. Like for example, with Mission Impossible, the standing ovation might be for the death-defying stunts that Tom Cruise is doing throughout the movie, especially in the third act. Or like with Eddington, it's because like truly the movie, moved people because of this kind of story it was telling. Or maybe with Die My Love, like Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence just left them in awe by how insanely different and weird and amazing the movie was. Again, like, do you think it's like in the past people used to applaud just because the movie was so amazing it blew them away? Do you think now they're applauding for specific things like Tom Cruise's stunts or somebody's performance? Or is it like what do these standing ovations even symbolize now?
I think it's just like I think it's just kind of the idea of they're like it makes more sense if they're there. Like obviously if you clap when like you're in a theater like with other people that just like a normal movie theater of like random people, then it doesn't make sense. But if you're like at con or Sundance or whatever and the people are there, then it's something to be like, okay, this is congratulatory. But the thing is, if you're doing it every time, it feels less special. If everyone's super, no one will be. So it's like if you give a standing ovation to every Bob, Joe, and Janet, then it's like, okay, are we really just applauding everything? And it's funny because it's like, from what I've heard of Eddington, it's like terrible. Like it's like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix is great, Pedro Pascal is great, but the movie sucks. Yeah, you got a 5-minute standing ovation. So it's like, so now do we have to like measure the standing ovation now? Okay, like if it gets 7.5, that means it's good. But if it only gets like 3 to 5 minutes, it's bad. But like we have to do it in order for it to like, because it's like the thing to do now. It's like it's just kind of ridiculous. And I think people need to calm down with it. But you're never going to get people to calm down about it because that's now it seems to be the thing to do at a film festival.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, as they
it's
say
just
in
a
the
lot.
article, like, they put up the faces of the director and the actors that are in the audience, watching essentially on screen. So people just are like, all right, we're going to clap for them because they're here, like you said. And it's rare when we get to see a movie that actually was deserving of the applause. And then you have a situation like Bong Joon-ho, which is also rare, that he was like, all right, guys, thank you, let's all go home. Because like by the time these movies usually wrap up, it's like towards the end of the day whenever they're screening them, and people are hungry. And so they were like, we were very hungry. So like Bong Joon-ho just wanted his Parasite team to go and get dinner, like, which is totally fair. But a lot of people probably don't like, feel that urge to stop. They're like, how many times are you going to get a room full of people cheering you on for as long as they do? So they're just like, I will take it in. Or they're in actual awe. Like maybe Joaquin Phoenix would actually like legitimately drawn to tears because he hasn't seen something like that, happen. I don't know. Like that could be true. But like they say in this article, the extended cheering reminiscent of rallies in authoritarian regimes has been normalized and fanned by a couple of key institutional factors, including, like the whole covering of it by the press and media, and it just becomes like a thing where people almost like feel like they're expected to do this, which is kind of crazy. I don't know, guys. You guys let us know in the chat. Do you think all these standing ovations are actually
The only
applauding the
time
movies for the
I will
quality of the
say,
movie?
I almost forgot to say this, but the one time I would maybe actually truly believe a standing ovation now, even though I usually hate them, if it's at a test screening and it's like one of the final test screenings, that means the fans, when like, because I mean, sometimes the directors are at the test screenings, but not usually. But like, only like producers are really at test screenings because they're the one measuring like the demographics and stuff like that, what they need to change, what they need to, and tell the directors and writers, hey, this is what you need to change. But it's fans that want, like usually fans or like people that might not even be interested in the movie, but like certain demographics that are like, okay, does it fit? That's what I would believe. Like if a test screening would give a standing ovation, I believe that. I don't believe any more of the film festival stuff because it's just ridiculous at this point.
It like I said, the key word is performative. It just feels like it's the expected thing to do, so they do it. Like, because you're less likely to do it in an average movie theater unless the movie really blew everybody away, because you all have to feel the same. Because you might be just one person, you get up and start clapping, everybody else is going to walk out of the theater. Like, it has to be a group effort, like a group think. Maybe the group think is also another way of describing it. But guys, let us know in the comments down below. Do you think all of these standing ovations, 7.5 minutes, 9 minutes, Pan's Labyrinth got a 22-minute one, although that was in 2006, way back in the day. But nowadays it seems like, every movie, like literally I showed you 3 examples that they weren't the only 3 from this year's Cannes Festival that got at least a minimum of 5 minutes of a standing ovation. Are they real? Are they legitimate? Are people doing it because the movies genuinely deserve it? Because that's what people feel like it? Like, they've actually loved the movie so much that they're going to stand up and applaud it for that many minutes? Or is it performative? Is it because they just want to see the headline on the Hollywood Reporter talking about maybe the video that goes up on social media with people standing up and clapping for Tom Cruise and Christian McQuarrie and the whole cast of Mission Impossible? Let us know in the comments what you think about it, and I'm sure we'll see you down there in the comment section, and then we'll bring it in for the Q&A session later in the week and talk about it more. But until then, let's switch gears. So we were looking ahead at the 2027 movie release calendar, and in 2027 there's a lot of big movies coming out. Some of them still don't even have titles, like DC and Marvel event films. There's Universal. There's a bunch of movies that don't actually have titles even, and we only kind of speculate what they are going to be. But there are some that we know for sure are releasing on specific dates. And most recently we got that, this updated teaser for Godzilla x Kong Supernova, which is of course the next movie in that franchise. And as part of that, we were basically looking at, what else is coming out next year, or next year in 2027. And it looks like Godzilla x Kong Supernova is releasing on the same day as the Legend of Zelda official movie, which I'm really excited to see. I'm sure Fiona and Zelda herself, like who's doggy, she won't know the difference, but we will all love to go and see. But having said that, they also have Sonic 4 coming out the week before. So we're going to address all of those elements. But the big thing, John, that I wanted to talk about, is it really going to hold that we're going to get in March? It's not June or July. It's not the summer movie months. In March, the early spring months, both movies, Godzilla x Kong and Legend of Zelda, can they survive releasing on the same weekend? Or is one of them going to flinch and move off of that date? Let's talk about that, because you see on the screen now, in January, you've got a few movies coming out, including the Angry Birds 3. And then in March, you get into the real...
Is Angry Birds even still relevant?
Apparently, people love the second one. It was way better than the first. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it will make money. It's coming out in January, though. Like, there's a reason why it's coming out in January. I don't think they expect it to be a $1 billion movie. But again, what we're talking about here specifically is if you scroll down to March 26th, Godzilla x Kong Supernova and The Legend of Zelda, they're both coming out on that same exact weekend. And then the week before, you have Sonic the Hedgehog 4. So not only are they following up a Sonic movie, which will probably be very popular considering the previous 3, but then you have Godzilla x Kong dropping the same day as Legend of Zelda. Do you think this is a problem? Could this be a Barbenheimer type of thing where both movies do really well? Because it's not necessarily true that both movies have the same demographics. I feel like there's some overlap, but maybe Legend of Zelda might be more for a 4-quadrant family audience, whereas Godzilla x Kong is more, a male audience, like, more of an action adventure, like a Transformers film. So I don't know though, but like you would imagine it's too early. It's not in the summer months for 2 huge blockbusters to do well the same weekend. Where do you stand on this? Do you think they can survive being on the same weekend, or do you think one of them has to move off and change its release date?
I don't think so. I think they can coexist, because it's not. I don't think it's as bad as it's like it's kind of like Gladiator 2 and Wicked coming out the same weekend. It's like too big, but they're entirely different audiences. Like Legend of Zelda, that's like an all ages sort of thing. Godzilla x Kong is like a very specific demographic, like people who like monster movies, action, and adventure stuff. Like, so I don't think so. It's not like it's like BVS and Civil War coming out the same weekend and they had to like skirt it out of there, because like those are 2 movies where it's like the heroes are against each other, and very similar plots because Marvel ripped off Civil War from BVS. So I think I don't think it's gonna be that much of an issue. I don't think so. I mean, if they move, then fine, but I don't think they will. And it just they're too different. They're different enough that it should be fine.
Yeah, I mean the other thing I look at on the calendar here, May 7th, Avengers: Secret Wars comes out. So, and then given the fact that Sonic 4 comes out the week before, if they were to move it, you don't have a ton of wiggle room because you don't want to get in the line of the buzzsaw that Secret Wars is going to be. So you don't want to release too close to Secret Wars on either side, which is why you see the only Warner Brothers event film that month comes out 3 weeks after Secret Wars comes out, and then it's 4 weeks after almost, or no, it's actually 2 weeks after the untitled Warner Brothers movie comes out, and then 3 weeks after Secret Wars is when Star Wars Starfighter comes out with Ryan Gosling, which who knows, maybe that movie will, by the time 2027 rolls around, that movie won't be on the calendar anymore, but we'll have to wait and see. So if they were to move it, say Godzilla times Kong or even The Legend of Zelda, I mean, you have what, like month is window, and including one, I mean, the week after this, supposedly another Disney movie coming out. So I guess you could move it into April if you wanted to, maybe move it by a week or two potentially. But like you said, right now, this early on, there may not be enough of an overlap. I personally think if one of the movies that moves is probably going to be The Legend of Zelda, because Godzilla times Kong Supernova is more of a proven commodity because it's not the first movie in the franchise. So they might move it, but again, when they start releasing trailers, maybe there'll be enough buzz behind The Legend of Zelda that they'll start thinking like what we have been thinking about Lilo and Stitch is gonna be a $1 billion movie. If it gets the kind of hype behind it that Super Mario Bros. Movie did and what Lilo and Stitch has been doing, maybe that will then force Godzilla times Kong and Warner Brothers' hand to move that movie out of the way of that one, and then maybe move it into April or move it a little bit forward and bring it back into February, because you also don't want to come out the week before Sonic 4. If anything, you want to come out the week after Sonic 4, but which is what they're doing now. But yeah, I guess we'll wait and find out which way they go. But it's gonna be a fun month in March, because if you're a fan of video games, then you get a Legend of Zelda, but the week before you get Sonic 4. So you're gonna be eating good, and it's gonna be fantastic. I mean, and these Sonic movies have been great. They're not been $1 billion movies, but they've made plenty of money. So we'll just have to wait and see. Are we gonna get 3 Jim Carreys in the next one? So, but John, if I had to ask you just real quick, between Godzilla times Kong, Legend of Zelda, and Sonic 4, which of the 3 movies do you think makes the most amount of money?
Ooh. I would have to say Legend of Zelda because it's a Nintendo property. Because both Sonic and the MonsterVerse movies have never been like huge movies.
Right.
Like they make a lot of money, but they don't make like Nintendo or Disney levels of money.
That's
so
true. Very true.
I think Legend of Zelda, especially with how Super Mario Brothers made $1 billion. Even though it's going to be live action, it's going to be different companies and all that, different producers, different writers, different everything. It's just Nintendo. But I think that's enough to boot it over the edge.
That's fair. I think that's fair. The Legend of Zelda probably, in my opinion, right now has the highest ceiling. But again, it depends on what the movie looks like when they put the trailers out. Maybe there will be a lot of controversy around the character designs and a lot of the key decisions they need to make regarding Link, Zelda. I mean, all of the characters, and people want to see like, will Link talk, like stuff like that. I'm sure once we know more about it, we'll have a better idea of how well the movie will do. People had similar questions about Super Mario Bros, like Chris Pratt voicing Mario. Hey, but you know what? The movie came out, made $1.4 billion, I think it was, 1.3 billion. It was the biggest movie of the year until Barbie surpassed it. So, and they're getting a sequel. So if things go the same way for Legend of Zelda, then it will do great, and it will be $1 billion movie, and then we'll get a sequel. But Godzilla times Kong and Sonic 4 coming out basically the same day or the week before. It's stiff competition. So let us know in the comments down below what you think about that, guys. Do you think Legend of Zelda needs to move, or do you think Godzilla times Kong needs to move off of its release date in March of 2027, March 26th specifically? And if they do move it, do they move it earlier? Because Sonic comes out the week before Sonic 4, or do they move it a little bit later and get closer to Avengers: Secret Wars, which is also probably going to be the biggest movie of the year, quite frankly. So Let us know in the comments down below what you think about. In the meantime, we have to switch our focus and we have to talk about a little bit of a retrospective on the Cannes Film Festival that just wrapped up. So I figured let's talk about it. Right off the top, there was some new news regarding, Christopher Nolan and the Odyssey and what's going on with the IMAX cameras, the new IMAX camera technology that they're using, John. That's where I want to start off because, of course, the movie is being filmed and they're still in production. They're going all across Europe and the world to film this movie. And the big thing I wanted to talk about is the new IMAX technology because there's a reason, because we did this in a quick hit segment a long time ago, or recent memory, I think, if I remember correctly. We mentioned that the Odyssey will be the first movie ever to be shot entirely on IMAX film cameras. Because remember, they do have these digital IMAX cameras, like the kind they used on Superman, the kind they used on Top Gun Maverick. And so they're easier to work with. They're smaller. You can fit them in like a cockpit of a, F-18 or FA-18, or you can put them in a Formula One race car. But then the big IMAX film cameras that are big and noisy, that that Christopher Nolan has broken a few of them filming Dunkirk and Oppenheimer and stuff. Those are the cameras that he likes to use. But because they're so big and noisy, and then also like the format that they have, like this big film format, 70 millimeter film, that you then have to convert into digital for dailies that the director then has to watch each day after the production wraps. It's a really difficult process. It's time consuming, it's costly, and it meant that they couldn't film the whole movie in IMAX film cameras. But now it looks like they have come out with some new technology because Christopher Nolan, basically after Oppenheimer, challenged IMAX to come up with new tech, and he said, look, if you can make these cameras easier to work with, including the image processing for dailies, as well as make them a little bit quieter, then I will film my next movie entirely in IMAX cameras. He basically said this to the CEO of IMAX, Rich Gelfond, who was recently talking about this at the Cannes press lunch, saying that, hey, Chris called me up, as in Christopher Nolan, and said, if you can figure out how to solve the problems, I will make Odyssey 100% in IMAX. And that's what we're doing, said Rich. He said he forced us to rethink that side of our business and our film recorders and our film cameras. So now the new technology we now know that Christopher Nolan is using is 30% quieter, these cameras. So you're not going to get that issue where they have to ADR all of the dialogue sequences. It's going to be easier to work with. And they're also a lot lighter, John. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, in addition to that, he mentioned that the film scanning and processing techniques will allow for faster turnaround for dailies, which from a production standpoint is going to be a lot easier for the crew to work with. And so Christopher Nolan can see what the shots they got on the day are like and maybe get to them faster and make that process a little bit cheaper. But what do you think about this? Because so far, The Odyssey is the only movie that they've reserved these new cameras for. Basically, they're beta testing it on The Odyssey, and then they'll make them available to other directors. But so far, only Christopher Nolan has been trusted with this.
He's the GOAT. So he's the GOAT IMAX boy. Even though he broke two of them, they're like, screw it, it's fine. Nolan, just be careful. That's all. It's experimental equipment, so just be careful. But I just love that, like, just Nolan just gets whatever the fuck he wants at this point.
But he's forcing the innovation. He challenged them, like, make them better, make them quieter, make them lighter, make the image scanning tech, like how you make dailies from all these film easier, like, and I'll use them for the whole movie. And they're like, bet. And then they actually came up with it. Like, it's kind of amazing, right? Like, what do you think about this?
Honestly, like, I'm driving two fucking, towns away just to watch this when this comes in IMAX. I'm not settling for Dolby. I'm gonna watch this in IMAX.
You gotta see it on actual 70 millimeter IMAX, like, which I did work at a 70 millimeter IMAX theater for like a few months, so I like the platters, the size of the platters. Like, I've seen the 70 millimeter film, what it looks like. I know how to load them into the camera. There's like the million different spools that it has to go through, how you clean the projector, and it is one hell of an experience, the process. And even just to kind of there's usually a window for the projectionist to look through to see the picture and the image and like the alignment and everything of the projector. And it's one of, that job didn't last very long. It was a little frustrating. It didn't pay very well, but I'll be honest with you, I was in it for the experience, and I can tell you it was freaking amazing working with IMAX film. Like it's like manual labor in a way that feels so old school. It was genuinely a very, and you can see the smile on my face. It was very enjoyable working with those platters of IMAX film. And for the movies that are so long, you actually have to I think you can even swap out platters, and then like sometimes like the smaller IMAX documentary films, like they don't even take up the whole platter, but then the bigger ones, there's a upper limit, and they'll send you the film stock in smaller chunks. So as a projectionist, you need to be able to, then there's a process, you have to stitch together multiple smaller chunks and reels into the bigger film that goes on these huge platters that you then use. So it's crazy. I mean, just a projection, and that's just a projection side of it. But for them to improve the actual filming, like the cameras themselves, yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan will get work the kinks out for them now at the Odyssey. And then I guess the next time Ryan Coogler wants to make a movie that's filmed for IMAX, like Sinners, he can use those IMAX cameras on the whole film. Like he used them on certain scenes and Sinners, which we can see. I saw Sinners in IMAX, and you can really tell the scale of the movie. It looks different when you film with IMAX cameras. So I'm just hoping that this maybe sets off a new trend, and if Christopher Nolan can work out the kinks, maybe breaking a few of the cameras along the way, I'm sure other filmmakers will be more likely to use it. But you know what? That wasn't the only. I mean, you guys, by the way, let us know in the comments what you think about that. This is crazy. Like if you're a film enthusiast, you like this kind of news. Like I think both John and I are gonna go see this in 70mm IMAX. But then, as far as the rest of con, some of the business of con or filmmaking at the festival, we had Qatar like show up and basically offer a lot of financing for Hollywood. Like, hey, come make movies with us. They're throwing billions
We
of
have
dollars
cookies.
around. Literally. And you know what? Hollywood is always looking for places to get funding for their next movie. And we've been talking about how production in Hollywood has been struggling, like specifically in LA and California. And well, they're not necessarily looking to solve that problem, because they're saying come and shoot films in Qatar. Like, because Qatar has like a new studio that they're building there, and their film commission is offering a lot of insane tax incentives. They're not the only ones either, because I mean, of course, the Doha Film Institute has revealed, that's, by the way, that is Qatar. They've introduced a new venue, a $300,000 venue for the new film festival. They've got new production facilities, and like I mentioned, they're not the only ones. In Saudi Arabia, like they were showing up and saying, "Hey, we're building this new film studio in Riyadh, and then you guys can come and film there." And then the Saudi Film Commission was offering this. I think this is part of like all their other crazy projects that they're building, like the Neom, the Line City, and all of that. But then at the same time, I mean, Hollywood is fighting harder than ever to bring production back to LA. I mean, John, who do you think wins this tug of war? Like the billions of dollars that the all the rich oil states in the Middle East have to offer, and the new production facilities and everything, the tax incentives? Or do you think LA can get their shit together and put together tax credits of their own and invite production from Hollywood studios back to where this started back like 100+ years ago? Where do you think? Who do you think is going to win this tug of war?
I don't know. I really, because it's like whenever we get into like kind of the business side, I'm always kind of like lost a bit and don't really know. Like I can never really predict or really have a good idea of that. So I'll try to be like in terms of that. It's just like with all the stuff going on and like from a government level, that's like something to obviously not like scooch by. But I think I don't know. It might be a little bit too devastated for the time being to really do that. So I don't know. They might have to wait a little bit, but obviously we'll see. But yeah, I can't really imagine them doing it like, oh yeah, within the year. I don't know. That's still kind of pushing it. So obviously I would I I don't know. I'm gonna
It's one of
say
those things where
like it's like kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like no matter how you look at it.
Because here's the thing with both Qatar and Saudi Arabia, the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to diversify their oil economies, right? They're really currently dependent on oil, and that's going to get phased out as an energy source in the not too distant future. They know that, so they're trying to diversify by bringing film production to their shores, and they've got money, like they've got billions of dollars to throw at these problems. Whereas Hollywood, in terms of like actually Hollywood, like LA proper, and as well as the larger state of California in general, they need this because the business is going to die here. Like local, there's so many people, so many locals who like part of a lot of unions who won't have as much work. They don't currently have as much work because productions are moving abroad. Like London practically is becoming another Hollywood at this point, with Legion Studios getting a multi-billion-dollar expansion, Marvel moving virtually all of their production over to London as part of the Pinewood Studios, and them building more sound stages. And that's not even the only competitor, right? Like Mission Impossible movies film all over the world, partly because the premise of the movies asks them to. But they're not the only big action for adventure franchise to do this. Fewer and fewer movies are filming in LA because of all the red tape that's needed to get permits to film in LA, and then instead they just go out and film in Vancouver and use them as stand-ins for LA. It's like there's multiple levels of problems here that have to be solved, and the wildfires recently that wiped out a lot of LA neighborhoods kind of just were like this. It was just a rude awakening. Like they only sort of expedited this need to bring production back to LA itself. I mean, hey guys, you depending on where you stand on this topic, maybe you work in the industry, let us know in the comments what you think about this, because this is such a big topic. We can do an entire podcast just about it. But with Cannes Film Festival recently wrapping up, and essentially with these big oil states in the Middle East bringing in very lucrative offers for Hollywood studios to go film in Doha and Riyadh and stuff, with brand new facilities, brand spanking new multi-billion-dollar facilities, and lots of tax production and tax credits. Do you think LA can actually bring production back to its shores? Can it be competitive? Like, it's already in the hole. Can it compete against all of these new competitors on the world market? And then also, what do you think about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey? At the Cannes Film Festival, we found out from the CEO of IMAX, there's brand new cameras that are lighter, that are a lot quieter, and that they have new technologies for scanning all of that film for dailies, so that the director can get to see those dailies from the end of production day faster, maybe even cheaper. Do you think that's going to result in more movies being filmed entirely in those IMAX film cameras like Christopher Nolan's doing for The Odyssey? Let us know in the comments what you think about that. And with that, John, we're going to switch over, and now we're going to get into the faster bit of news, which we like to call the quick hits. So let's dive into those, shall we? So, John, the quick hits today are going to be fun. They're going to be fast. And the first one that we have to talk about is Superman versus Muhammad Ali. Apparently, they had some pretty iconic names in the crowd for this Once Upon a Time crossover comic book, The Fight to Save Earth from Star Warriors. I don't know if you've ever read this. It looked incredibly cool.
I know of it, but I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the names here. You've of course got the typical like iconic DC characters, like you've got Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Barry Allen's Flash, Iris Allen in there. Then you have like Herbert Muhammad, like Charles Lomax, Gerald R. Ford, Ron Howard are in the crowd. It's kind of cool. I mean, some of these names, Joe Esposito was in there. Are you surprised to see some of these names that were all in the crowd? This is pretty meta and pretty epic. I feel like if you're a comic book nerd, this would have been one hell of a thing to kind of like look at and maybe like like can you name everybody in this image kind of a things. Would you care to like get your hands on one of these yourself? Christopher Reeve was in this apparently as well. So many big names.
Maybe. I think that could be kind of fun to have. I am aware of
Jimmy
it. I haven't
Carter?
read the story, but I know like of it. So
It's kind of crazy. The number of names on this is pretty epic. I don't know, guys. You let us know. Have you ever read it? And could you name most of the people in this image? I mean, this is the key here. You get all the names and where they are in the picture. But if you're just to watch this or read this panel and kind of peruse through the faces, how many could you recognize? Can you tell where Christopher Reeve is in the crowd? If there's Batman, I can see Batman. It's interesting. Jimmy Carter on the bottom right there with his wife. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about, John, Ironheart coming out soon. They put a new banner for the show out, and so we get a different kind of look at the armor that she's gonna have, the Ironheart armor, as well as Riri Williams herself. Very much giving you that early Iron Man vibes, though. I feel like in this, it works for me because I'm like, as long as you can bring back that mechanical aesthetic of the original Iron Man movies, I'm down for it. I mean, but like, what are your thoughts on the show?
I just don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. It seems that Disney does not have a ton of faith in this. Like they literally put out the
They're
first.
dumping it in 2-3 episode batches.
Like they put out the trailer 3 hours before the Superman trailer came out. Like, guys, that does not instill much confidence because they're like, oh, nobody's gonna be talking about this because it's Superman. So it's like, yeah, not great.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
look, the only upside to this for me is the armor does look like more of that classic Iron Man armor from like the trilogy of movies that they did. But once they got to like Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame with like the nanotech armor, it kind of took away the tactile nature, like the fun part of the Iron Man armor. Like you hear all the noises and the gears clicking and whirring. Like that's, if you get to see more of that, I'm like, okay, it'll be cool. You know, like I wanna see that. And if Riri Williams is able to bring that back, I'm willing to give this show a chance. But I guess we'll find out soon enough when the show drops in June. My only concern is the fact they're dropping it in 2-3 episode batches and basically like, here it is today and gone it is tomorrow. I don't know how much faith they have in this, and that leads me to a little bit of concern myself. Like, should I be worried? Is it going to be actually any good? I guess you guys let us know in the comments. But hey, Marvel did also just put out a new poster for the new Avengers, the movie formerly known as Thunderbolts. Or I guess if you go to the movie theater, it's still known as Thunderbolts. But now that most of the story is out there for the people who have seen the movie, they're giving it that another twist to that whole asterisk that maybe these people are all just controlled by Valentina as puppets. Careful who you assemble. But then at the end of the movie, they're like, we own you. So
Why is Taskmaster still in promos? Why is Taskmaster there when she died 2.8 minutes into
spoiler
the
alert.
movie?
Honestly, they did not have to. There was no reason. And then the director coming out and saying, we did it simply because somebody had to die. I'm like, that's the dumbest reason to kill off a character just because somebody needed to die. You could have killed out some rando to do that, not a character that people actually want to see more of. Especially a character that needed some redemption. Like, that was crazy. Especially, then they also faked us out in the trailer. There's a version where they're in the Avengers Tower and Taskmaster is there. Then the actual movie, she's not. So I'm like, why?
Yeah, and you could, and guys, you can sue for that because they passed a law where it's like if they mismarket something.
It was in India. I don't know if there was a.
I thought it was like.
I don't think
I thought it was in America.
No, but you know what? There was that case, but I don't think it. I don't know. Okay, I don't know enough about this to be authoritative, but yeah, if you guys feel betrayed by it, I suppose. But dude, by the way, the logo, the Marvel Studios logo, like is very much focused on the Sentry, right? Like you get all the Sentry comic images at the beginning, and then it becomes like this black logo, which is obviously like the Void. That was interesting. Very interesting. So this was fun. Again, Marvel kind of changing things up a little bit now. They're getting away from like that whole thing that they used to do back in the Infinity Saga, where they had all the previous movies. I guess they're starting off fresh, and cool, good on them. You know who else is starting out fresh? Charlie Cox, back as Daredevil. But recently in an interview, he was kind of talking about how, hey, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Daredevil had this like big crossover, and they kind of like essentially played into each other's origin stories, which to me just went on to show like, hey, this man knows what he's talking about. He's the right fit for this character, and having played him now for almost a decade, he knows his stuff. He's done the research. What do you think, John?
Yeah, absolutely. I love like who doesn't love Charlie Cox at this, like who, like it just took me a second because I'm like, oh yeah, the TMNT thing. Who doesn't love Charlie Cox? Who doesn't love like his like love for this character? it's a shame that the Disney version is fucking Garbo, but like, you know, we still love him. We still love his iteration.
Comments in the chat. Have you seen it, John? Born Again.
I don't care. It sucked. It's Disney versus Netflix. Like, who is the real one?
Okay.
Like,
all right, fair enough. Well, you know, it's great though that the man himself loves the franchise and he knows enough about it. Like, he's read the comics, and so for him to be able to speak to it at that level must only, you know, mean that he's gonna play it right on camera. He's as an actor, he understands the assignment. So with that though, we're gonna have another Marvel rumor to talk about, John, because apparently, according to My Time to Shine, there will be no new X-Men cast in the upcoming Avengers movies. The focus is just going to be on giving closure to the original characters. But isn't that what the Deadpool movie was about?
I mean, that's what Logan was about. That's what Deadpool Wolverine was about. That's what this is about. So it's like, I brought in Ultra Lord. It's like, Sheen, this is the third time you've brought in Ultra Lord. It's like, this is the third time this is a swan song for the X-Men.
I feel like we've been doing a swan song for the X-Men for like the last decade and a half. I don't know. Whatever. Well, hey, apparently Kevin Feige also, according to My Time to Shine, has specific actors in mind for Professor X, you know, Charles Xavier, Magneto, and Storm. They're big names, and you know, we'll talk about
apparently
them
Daniel
more.
Day-Lewis.
Yeah, we've talked about that already. I don't think they can convince him to come back.
No. One, he's like half retired, and the other, it's like, come on,
he
really?
came back for his son's movie. I don't think he's back full-time working as an actor.
No.
These Marvel movies are a commitment, like, and they will sign you to a multi-film
And he's too good, like, for that shit. Like,
I don't think he's looking to do that at this point in his career, unless he wants a big payday. If they back up the Brinks truck, why not? I mean, it's gonna be hard to say no to millions of dollars. Who knows? But anyway, we have had this conversation. MoviePass secures $100 million capital investment from Gem Token Fund to develop fantasy box office game Mogul. Remember we talked about this? They're gonna create like a fantasy game focused on box office results, so we can bet on the fact that, oh, the Avengers Doomsday is gonna make $200 million opening weekend. Get the over and under on that, and it's gonna turn it into a fantasy game, which will initially not be about real money, but eventually they hope to turn it into like a legit like betting app. And
cool.
Now
FanDuel for movies, great. What a fucking great idea.
Or DraftKings, depending on where your loyalties lie. I guess now they have funding to do this. So $100 million, that should be enough money. All right, moving on to the next thing. Al Pacino has joined Bobby Moresco directed biopic Maserati The Brothers. Your thoughts on this one? He's going to be playing one of the Maserati brothers, I suppose.
I mean, I don't really care about Maserati. Like, I can't buy their cars. Why the fuck would I care about a movie about them? So, like, fuck
I mean, they
'em.
did a Ferrari movie, and then I'm guessing Lamborghinis are going to get a movie themselves at some point. So it's only fair that we get a Maserati. And Al Pacino.
What are they going to have
Italian? Come on.
Are they going to have like a post-credit scene where like Adam Driver walks and he's like, Maserati. You're part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet.
Totally. And you know what? Al Pacino should play both of the brothers. I don't know. Like
Yeah, just pull a Robert De Niro like with Alto Knights.
Totally. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Bridgerton. If you are a fan of the show, it's been renewed now for season 5 and 6 at Netflix, with season 4 set to launch in 2026. John, you excited?
Not really. No. I mean, I'm just gonna like, the most I'm gonna get from the show is like walk in on my mom watching it, and it's always gonna be during a sex scene. Like, I'm like, Mom, what the fuck are you watching? And it's like, watching Bridgerton. It's like, this is porn. This is what that is.
It's like every 5 minutes they're doing it. Although it's
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, who doesn't like that? But like, still, like, you can tell a story without sex. I mean, I understand Game of Thrones did like the whole thing of like, we gotta include sex in every fucking episode, but it's like, you don't need to do that. Breaking Bad didn't do that, and that's one of the greatest shows ever. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, hey, it's kind of like the Thorns and Roses book series, you know, in motion picture format. Which John is like, what are you talking about? Anyway, don't ask me how I know that. But Sarah Jessica Parker, or about those books, Sarah Jessica Parker asked her agent to get me out of Sex and the City right after the pilot. So, and there's the timeline out there where that agent followed suit, and Sarah Jessica Parker was basically done with the franchise after just a pilot, John. Can you imagine a world where Carrie was not played by Sarah Jessica Parker in the Sex and the City?
Yeah, and then it
franchise
would have
that's
gotten
still
canceled
ongoing?
after one season, and then we'd never hear about it again. That's the universe I want to be a part of.
Well, I mean, hey, thankfully that's not the universe we live in, because that franchise is still living on and has another
Gross.
spin-off season coming. Well, I guess thankfully if you're a fan of the franchise. But anyway, where's some Emmy predictions, John? So Variety put this out recently, and they put out their predictions for all 43 categories. We're not going to talk about all 43, but you know, some of the big ones, of course, the studio now and finishing its run of season 1 and already renewed for season 2. Severance coming back for season 3 pretty quickly, and season 2 aired this year and was the hit of the town, much like the studio is. So Apple holding a pretty good lead at the top. Of course, FX could dominate as well. We know we've got the new Alien series, Alien Earth, coming out soon. So let's just kind of quickly look at a couple of the big ones here, John. Now let's see. We've got, according to them, Netflix leading the way with 49 nominations as a studio, HBO Max leading or coming in second at 48, and Apple TV Plus with 46 nominations. And then Severance, the studio, The Bear, and White Lotus probably be having the biggest nominations. And then you have Welcome to Wrexham, Will and Harper, Martha also in there. Are any of these surprises to you? Of course, the Last of Us will probably still get a lot of nominees. Who do you think is gonna win like the best drama series? Like that's the big one usually.
Probably gonna go to the yeah, you got the Pit.
Look
You got
at
a
this
lot of
list.
stuff.
Dude, Andor is on there. I feel like Andor and Severance to me are really hard to pick apart.
I've
And then
heard
Slow
like
Horses is great.
my dad
The Last of
watched
Us?
my dad watched all 10 episodes of The Pit in like a couple days, and I'm like, well, my mom couldn't watch it because it's very like it's hard to watch. It's like a lot of like dismembered
Yes.
people, and
Oh, no,
it's
absolutely,
it's part of an ER. So
yeah, exactly.
so my dad watched it, and I'm like, oh, I've heard great things. What did you think? And he's like, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. He's like, it's one of the best things I've
Is
watched.
that high praise? Like, does he say that often about shows?
No,
Or-
not really. I mean, he did say like he'd never watched Severance because his friend said it sucked, but like, we'll see.
I
Like,
see where you get it from.
but I mean, he's got pretty top. Like, he watched a lot of TV. So I mean, like he says, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are some of the greatest. Game of Thrones for like the first 4 or 5 seasons, he said was phenomenal.
Dude,
But he's also like loves like sitcoms, like he loves Friends and Seinfeld, so he likes a lot of stuff. But like in terms of like highbrow TV, it's like usually Breaking Bad is like the top, that's like the thing to compare to. But like he's never Sopranos is another one. He never watched The Wire though. I don't think he ever watched The Wire, but because that's another like amazing
check it
show.
out, HBO Max. Go to
So,
it's all there.
But
I mean,
he
then,
loved
dude,
The Pit.
there's
I'm like, is it better than ER?
nominees
He's like,
here.
yeah, of course it's better than ER.
Okay, let me put you on the spot. Who would you pick as the winner here?
Now the thing is, I have not watched a single one of these shows,
Really?
so
Wow,
I
okay.
can't judge. I can't pick one.
Okay, all right. So here's what Severance was great. I thought Severance season 1 was better. Season 2 was kind of uneven. It really slows down in the middle. The Last of Us so far, I mean, they're just, I think, yeah, are they about to air the finale? But Last of Us season 2 is amazing. The Pit, like you said, everybody talks about it as like the best medical procedural drama ever. The Diplomat was really good on Netflix. I haven't finished watching it. Squid Game, preferred season 1 to season 2. The White Lotus, I don't think the latest season was the strongest. Slow Horses, I love the show, but again, the latest season was not his best season. And Andor was great, amazing, fantastic, best Star Wars ever, but season 1 was still better. So I'm gonna say The Last of Us, because I think in terms of true standouts, like the best of the show itself and in general, I think The Last of Us is gonna win. The prediction from Variety is that Severance is going to take it. So that's who they're.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Like, I've heard very little good about Last of Us. So,
Dude, the show is amazing. This one, I mean, they did the thing. But as far as limited and anthology series, that's where us DC fans are interested, because the Penguin was a front runner up until Adolescence came out, and now that becomes like a huge contender. So do you think, John, that between the Penguin and Adolescence, they're the two front runners? Who do you think takes the lead? Do you think the Penguin still has the chops, or is recency bias going to kick in and eventually we're going to get, maybe the Adolescence broke a lot of records. Do you think they're going to win, or do you think the Penguin can still come out on top?
No, there's definitely recency bias. I mean, look at the whole thing with Anora winning over stuff that actually should have won. So, I definitely think that I don't think Penguin has a chance anymore. It was like the hottest thing for like 2 or 3 months, maybe 4 or 5 months, and then it like once the new year hit, essentially, it was like once that initial award season.
They pick up a lot of awards though, so
it did get a lot of awards, but I think there is a recency bias.
I genuinely think the Penguin can still hold out and win, because it's hard though. You guys let us know in the chat. I mean, I know a lot of you guys will probably want to see the Penguin win, but yeah, of course, we'd love to hear from you. Do you think Adolescence, unfortunately, will win because of the recency bias and the momentum that it picked up, or do you think the Penguin can still hold its own and walk away with the trophy? So let us know in the chat and the comments down below. But moving on to the next thing, John, Georgia maintains a status as the top production hub in the face of industry slowdown. So we talk about how London has got a lot of production going on down there for Marvel. The Harry Potter show is going to film in the UK now, and they're expanding.
I would hope the Harry Potter show films in the UK. That makes sense.
But still, I mean, Georgia still remains apparently the leader, in at least in the US and even across the world. They've still got a lot of studios there. They've got like the Tyler Perry Studios. They've got the Pinewood Studios stateside that's in Georgia. Are you surprised that they still are a big production hub out here at a time when LA is still struggling? I mean, Georgia's doing great for itself, especially Atlanta, the greater Atlanta area.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think, I mean, Georgia has been killing it, mainly in TV, but movies as well. But TV is like the big
Tyler
thing.
Perry Studios does a lot of production there. So,
yeah, they're killing it.
Marvel
Georgia's
still
just been on top. The taxes or the rebates are just fucking through the roof. This doesn't surprise me.
That whole logo.
How many times sometimes for certain streaming services you have to go watch through the whole credits to then get to the next episode. It's annoying. Fix that, streaming services. But sometimes, how many times have you seen that Georgia logo?
Too many times.
It's ingrained in my brain now.
Years.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
and look at Marvel. You have to go through the credits for post-credit scenes. You see that Georgia logo sometimes. So because they're filming in Atlanta sometimes. So it's huge, and this is definitely not surprising.
Yeah, like that scene at the beginning of Civil War where they're fighting in some African city. That was actually Georgia. They shot in near Atlanta as a stand-in for that. Where Crossbones gets knocked off way too early in the movie. Anyway, Ryan Murphy taking on Bret Easton Ellis's The Shards for FX. John, you're familiar with Ryan Murphy's work. He's done a lot of big shows for the FX network before, and now it looks like he's got his next show. Kaya Gerber is attached to star in the project. It's in early development, and it's based on a book series, I believe. What are your thoughts on this? This is his next project over at FX.
I'm not really a big Ryan Murphy fan, but I've heard. I mean, I know a lot of his shows are fantastic, but I just can't get into them. But I mean, to all the people that do like his stuff, then awesome, great. But it seems like this dude has a new show every other week at this point.
That's
and it makes sense. He's doing Bret Easton Ellis. That works, so I'm sure it'll be great. But I can't get into his stuff.
Cool. I'm not as familiar with his work, but I mean, he's a mega producer, kind of like Greg Berlanti, but I guess his shows are better. So there you go. We were talking about recently, of course, Final Destination Bloodlines. It's getting great reviews. It's making plenty of money. It had a franchise record opening at the box office when it came out. And now we know that Tony Todd, of course, I think we have hinted at this before, being one of his last big projects, his final lines in the movie were actually unscripted, and they were speaking directly to the fans. And so a little bit of improvisation, and he just kind of got to say his piece, which, in hindsight, it works in a way as a tribute to him, and for the fans to kind of look upon his performance and just look back and say, you know what, great man, great career. We'll never forget what he gave us. And the lines included, I intend to enjoy the time I have left, and I suggest you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck. And that just holds a double meaning at this point, right, John? What are your thoughts on Tony Todd's final lines and his final movie?
I mean, I still have no intention of seeing this. I just have no interest in Final Destination. I've never seen any of the movies, but I might watch the scene because I do love Tony Todd. I am, whenever The Bunker comes out, hopefully it's not just limited and I can actually go and see it, unlike, that Pedro Pascal movie, Freaky Tales. I really wanted to see that, but, couldn't see that because screw you, AMC. Like, they have the poster for the movie in the theater. Like, guys, come on. But so I'll probably watch the scene and then I'll watch The Bunker to support Tony Todd, because who doesn't love Candyman?
Yeah. Yep. That's it. I think it was another cherry on top of what again is probably the best Final Destination movie ever, both from a critic standpoint and also how much money it's making. But with that, guys, we have come to the end of the news and quick hits part of the show. So John, if you can hit the stop mark on that music of ours, we're gonna move on. But before we do, guys, let us know in the comments what you thought about all the quick hits, and which was your favorite part. What was the story that you enjoyed the most? And if you're new, of course, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit that like button if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you in the comments as well, and we'll bring those comments in for a Q&A session, as we always do at the end of the week. But now let's switch focus, as we usually do. We're gonna get into the main event of the show, and that is, of course, DC news. So let's switch up the graphics and welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. As always, we have a bunch of news things to talk about, from Superman to the comics to maybe even some Wonder Woman fan casting. We'll get into those. And John, speaking of which, what's the thing at DCU Daily today, the big DC news that you are most excited to talk about?
Well, considering that, I mean, I do like the big story because, teases us for what's, future, but I like, I like the, idea, like, I love the new footage just a little bit, but I also like the Krypto stuff and all that. So I'm excited for those two main things.
Yeah, same. I'm excited about Superman talking about Krypto. I think that's gonna be very interesting, and I think a lot of you guys might already know what we were talking about. So let's dive into it, shall we? First, we're gonna get into some quick hits DCU Daily style. So the first of which is Superman: The Kryptonite Spectrum. It's been announced as a new series by DC Comics. It's a 5-issue mini-series written by Maxwell Prince, with art by Martin Morazza from the DC Black label, described as an existential superhero fantasy horror that sees Superman come into contact with every color of kryptonite, and it begins releasing on August 13th. John, what are your thoughts on this? The kryptonite spectrum, I guess. Yeah.
I think it definitely looks very surreal. It kind of reminds me of the what is that? There was a Martian Manhunter mini-series, maxi series, whatever it was, years ago, that kind of reminded me of like the surrealness of this.
I'm sure somebody in the live chat or comments are going to tell us.
but I don't know. I think it was just called Martian Manhunter, but it was really good. I wasn't a huge fan of the art style, but it definitely had that weird surrealness to it, very alien, which is what I like that they're kind of leaning into with this, because it is Black label, usually goes darker, and so it does bring I like the horror aspects. I feel like you could do a lot of horror stories with Superman that like doesn't like take away from him and his character, but like the setting around him is
Yeah,
like
it's also
horrific. And like honestly, imagine like
yeah.
a Superman horror movie with like Makes You Spit Lick as the villain. Like that would be like so cool.
I mean, to me, the idea that each of these colors of kryptonite does something different. It's not like every single one is gonna make him weak.
I mean,
It
just
has
don't look
different
up the pink
effects.
one.
Yeah. So to me, that's really where the storytelling potential comes in. I'm sure James Gunn might bring some of these other kinds of kryptonite into the DCU eventually, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Maybe even Supergirl, we might get to see it, like not just the green kryptonite. You guys let us know in the chat and the comments what you guys think about this. This looks very interesting, and I might pick up the first issue to see how good it is. August 13th. It's gonna be right between Superman coming out and Peacemaker coming out. So the Kryptonite Spectrum, part of the summer of Superman over the DC Comics. Now, there was a rumor about that Superman movie, though, John, we have to talk about. According to insider Divinity, so take it with a grain of salt. Probably not true. This image is definitely still AI generated. So don't look at the image and be like, "Oh, that's what it is." No, the image is just part of the post. It's not real. It's been debunked before. But according to insider Divinity, each Superman will have a new costume at the end of the film. And it's not just going to be any change, but something quote unquote symbolic for Superman and the new DCU, as it would be his definitive look. John, what's going on here? Do you think we're going to get this kind of a suit with a very definitive bulge? But what are your thoughts? Are we getting a suit change? I know people have been talking about this, a rumor, for a long time. Is it actually going to happen?
There's the shot right there. Now I'll zoom into this.
So we're gonna zoom into this. I don't think we're gonna get something like this. This is not like the vision that James Gunn has. Obviously, this is an AI image. This isn't real. Just we're gonna keep reiterating that because people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's gonna come in like, oh guys, this is fake." It's like we know it's fake. It's not real.
Yes.
This was like confirmed months ago. So I think that we are gonna be getting something. We might be getting another suit, but I don't think I can't like see it being the definitive suit because it's like because I mean one they want to sell toys. So they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to introduce a lot of suits." I mean, that's what they do for Spider-Man. They all right, we have to have 3 suits per movie, it feels like. So they have like cuz like Homecoming had like the homemade suit and then the Stark suit and then the metallic suit and then Far From Home had the Night Monkey suit, and then the regular blue and the blue and red suit, and then the black and red suit, the more Steve Ditko-esque suit. And then No Way Home had the inverted suit. It had the one with the golden emblem, and then it had like another one. So it's like they keep
Marvel
doing
does
that
it.
over and over again.
I mean, even
So
in the DCEU, the suit in Batman v Superman was different from the Man of Steel suit.
yeah, it was more golden, a little bit more red, a little bit more blue.
It was much more shiny in general.
Yeah. But I think this is definitely I mean I want to have him more like because I don't like how the cape looks. I don't like the lines and I don't and I don't like the collar. Like those are like everything else about the suit is good. I like the color scheme. I like the tights. I like the
So the top half of that, the way the cape goes into the chest, that's definitely from Man of Steel. You could tell that design is Man of Steel.
Yeah.
The trunks, the bulges, just feels like they took it out of some combination of the comics and one of the previous movies. The color blue is a more royal blue than like the Superman suit we're getting in the movie is like a different, like more of an ocean blue, kind of like the color blue that we have on our graphics. It's closer to that color, closer to the Superman costume that Christopher Reeve wore in the movies. So the color would be significantly different. They've got the crest here looking the same, and again, this is an AI generated image. So as far as we know, this is not a real picture. But as far as the costume change in the movie itself, I keep going back to the idea that James Gunn said the events of the movie take place over the course of a few days. I doubt that there's going to be a suit change involved in that. And quite frankly, we didn't really get an in-universe explanation for the suit change with Man of Steel into Batman v Superman. As far as the people in the universe knew in the DCEU, it was the same suit. It was just for us people watching, they made some minor modifications. It wasn't like the only time you got a suit change proper was the black suit, which even that wasn't technically canon to the larger DCEU because it was part of the Snyder cut, which I if you ask the studio heads, they were like, no, it's its own separate thing. So I don't know. There's not a lot of precedence here, so I'm not sure that's why I go back to the idea that this is probably not happening.
It's probably not true. I still want him to like have a at least kind of slightly improved suit to what we have because I like a lot. I like 90% of it. I would say like the collar, the lines, and the cape are just weird to me.
Here's the thing, John. We have seen him get beat up and bloodied. Like he's charred up with all the smoke and fire from the kaiju, and we see in the new trailer that Ma and Pa Kent are tending to him. We also have seen him, really just bleeding internally and probably haven't had the shit beat out of him on the tundra and the Arctic tundra, wherever he is, and he asks Krypto to take him home, and then he gets healed up in the Fortress of Solitude. But in neither of those instances, when we have seen the suit damaged, in neither of those situations have you seen it be pierced or broken or torn apart in a way that it needs to be replaced. And we don't see it, being put back together because we never see it be torn apart. Unlike the Man of Steel suit, which at the start of Justice League movie, or at the end of BBS, he gets pierced by Doomsday, and that suit is basically destroyed. There's clearly a big rip in the middle of it, in the heart. So I don't know if something like that will happen, because that's the only reason why I think they would change the suit if the suit just gets destroyed in the process, right, of fighting one of the villains, maybe the Hammer of Baravia or something. But I don't know, guys. You let us know in the comments down below what you think. Is there going to be a suit change in the movie? I know you guys are probably divided on this. Would you like to see a suit change? Let us know in the comments down below. In the meantime, let's talk about a few other things. There was, another DC Spotlight cover released for Superman. So again, Summer of Superman stuff. They're releasing more new artwork. What do you think about this design, John?
Looking great. I like the stuff on the shoulders. I think that's kind of different and interesting too.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of this one. Kind of a mix between the classic versions, and then again a very much a featureless suit outside a little bit of detail on the boot. Some more classic in that sense. Let's go on to some other Superman artwork. We've talked about this a little bit before, John, but having sat with this a little bit, if you had to pick between the three now, which is your favorite one? Is it the one in the middle with Krypto, with just Superman, or Lois and Clark? Which would be your favorite poster if you had to hang it up in your room with all the other?
I think the Lois and Clark one is probably my favorite.
I like it. It's very minimalist. It's very symbolic. It's iconic, classic Superman. I love it. I love this one too. I think this would be the one I would probably hang up to in my studio. Moving on to the next thing. Apparently, John, I mentioned earlier, they had some new shots. Not many, but I guess a couple of them are pretty significant. You see a look at Lois on the street where they shot in Cincinnati, whatever ship had crashed there, or destruction that happened in one of the fight sequences. And then you see Superman literally flying up with the chest, up front and center, and the logo on full display for the audiences. What do you think about this new footage?
I like it. We definitely get more of.
Yeah.
I like the 3D look of the logo. I think
the texture, the
I like the texture. It kind of has more of a leather vinyl feel to it, look to it. I kind of like that.
I do, yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Again, I don't know why these two shots were cut from the main trailer, but hey, love seeing it when
it gives people incentive to watch. To go watch the NBA. You'll get more footage.
It's also, you could tell that this suit is in this instance, you see it's very tight, form fitting, and there's not a lot of loose areas, joints or stuff, and you can see his arms are well defined and everything. Some of this might just be CG, but for people who are worried about how good the suit looks, this shot is definitely showing you that the suit looks fine. The logo looks great. Let's just see when the movie comes out And we're gonna get a lot more of these like little, new shots here and there as they start putting out more 30-second ad spots for the movie, and then hopefully that will mean we get a little more of a sneak peek at the movie itself. So moving on to the next thing, Superman's cape apparently was changed in the latest trailer, and somebody did a side by side because that, kissing and flying into the air or like floating into the air, a shot with Lois and Clark in the movie that the shot, I think in Cleveland was it? Was this? I think this was in Cleveland. This used to be the train terminal. Now it's like a hotel or something.
I thought it was still a train terminal.
Well, is it a still? Okay, so it's still a train terminal. Basically, the exterior of this has been like the Justice Society, the OG HQ, but they shot inside of that building, and apparently they changed up how the cape looked in the new shot. So they have the same shot in both the teaser and the official trailer, and you can see at the bottom in the teaser, I think you get more of maybe the original cape with the shot in live action, but then in the second trailer, where I guess they've had more time to work on the shot, you can see the cape is a little bit bigger, or it's not bigger, it's more like this, it's more fanned out. Although the one thing I will say, in the Superman trailer versus the teaser, it looks a little more fake when you put them side by side. Like the cloth movement feels more realistic, the way the light hits it, the folds feel more real in the original shot. John, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is an entirely different take of the shot, or do you think they simply just went in and replaced the cape?
Sorry, my webcam is in the way, so hang on, let me just move this out of the way for a second. It's entirely possible that it was just that, they just kind of tweaked it a little bit. I think they just wanted to have it.
Movement is completely different though.
Right? Like, well, yeah, but maybe in the teaser it was not VFX, but in the trailer it was, because it definitely looks a little more fake in the trailer. So I think they wanted to make it a little bit more flowing.
Yeah, because you can see the compositing, like the sunlight. If you look at the color of Superman's hair, there's much, and then even Lois, like there's much more of that golden light glow to it, and you can see the color on the shot is a lot more like saturated, the blues on the right and the yellows on the left, than what you see in the original shot. I will still say the original shot, or I guess when I say the original in the teaser, it looked more realistic, whereas the new one looks more like animated. So I hope that whatever we end up in the actual movie is maybe somewhere like maybe more of a middle ground, because I personally prefer the shot at the bottom, even though it's not as majestic and grand. I don't know, John, what do you think?
I think both have its sorry, hang on. No, my camera's off. But I think both have some merit. I kind of like the majesticness of the animated cape, but I also like the stability of the teaser cape. I think both are good for very different reasons.
Fair enough. I think that's probably what most people think. Some of you guys are going to prefer one shot of the other, and I, for one, would want something maybe that's in the middle. Maybe they can dial it just right. I think they kind of overshot with the Superman trailer shot versus the teaser. Maybe dial it back a little bit. But yeah, we'll find out in the movie. Again, these, you could tell just by the fact that they've changed it between the two trailers that they're still working on this. So I'm sure there will be changes made from here till the time the movie comes out. But we'll see. In the meantime, John, we have to talk about how Nicholas Hoult, he was also in consideration at one point for the role of Superman.
Yep.
But he recently shared the moment that he knew he lost the role to David Corenswet, saying he was sitting in the sunlight, David Corenswet was, just like Superman does, to charge up, to get his powers back. I looked at him and I was like, wow, that's Superman.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, he is, of course, Lex Luthor, so it's not like, Nicholas Hoult lost out on everything. But the man has tried out for Batman. The man has tried out for Superman. He ultimately ended up as Lex Luthor. Do you think he's on the mark here? Do you think David Corenswet was just as naturally the right fit for the role as Nicholas Hoult describes him to be?
I would hope so, because, I mean, this is the guy we're stuck with now. I don't want to say
fair.
Stuck with, but like,
That's a very fair
I mean,
statement.
from what I have seen of him, he looks, sounds, and feels like Superman, even from the little footage we have. So
That's
I
fair.
really like it.
Yeah, same. I agree with you on that one. All right. Well, moving on to the next thing. We got a few more stills from the trailer. Just gonna quickly browse through it. Again, Superman and Lois's relationship. You could tell they've been dating for a while and they're pretty close. But then the interview kind of goes sideways a little bit. I love the look at Metamorpho again. His power. I want to see how much more we get of him. Maybe how baby Joey ties into it all. Also, in this sequence, you can tell there's not many people in the cells next to Superman and Metamorpho, but then in later shots, you find out more people are there. That's people still saying there's a different suit in this shot. There's no freaking way to tell unless you do like the enhance.
But that's
some
literally
more.
impossible.
I don't know. Like I don't think there's enough detail here to tell.
No,
this is the
there
moment
isn't.
I was telling you about how like Superman at one point ends up in Ma and Pa Kent's care after one of his fights, but the suit's still very much intact.
Mhm.
The engineer,
The
looking
pause
wild
face.
and
Whoop.
crazy, like holy crap. And then again, this could be a pocket dimension. It looks like a pocket dimension, honestly. I don't know if this is the meta-human prison anymore. And then, of course, Sarah Sampaio. Love the dress and the whole attitude of you might be, having a foreign superhero agent destroying parts of Metropolis, but she would love to take a selfie and post it on Instagram. And then this is the sequence, the same shot that we were talking about earlier. Not the same shot, but a different angle of the same events. The kiss as they fly into the air. Yeah, and then the flying sequence, dude. I think the flying of Superman in this movie looks more seamless than we've probably ever seen before.
Yeah, no. I mean, we
I really
mentioned that
love
the other
that.
day.
Yeah,
It's really true. Like it looks good.
It-
I mean,
Good
people joked
perfected.
like, oh, he was practicing the Adam Warlock stuff in Guardians 3 to do Superman. That's why he's
Yeah.
comfortable now because he did Adam Warlock.
I'm sure it helped. Also, you see much more of a look at the nanoparticles and stuff, right? All of this stuff being added in post production. I hope that this is not the end of Mr. Terrific. Like that's not the scene where this man dies. Some
No.
of his tech got taken over by the engineer, and we know at some point in this scene the engineer does get defeated because you've seen that photo of it over on the ground. But this image again, you could kind of tell that Nathan Fillion's a little bit CGI'd here because there's not as much bulk to him as we see in the other shots where you can actually tell it's himself. But I mean, hey.
But again, I think
that's
it's just the
gang.
shoulder pads don't give him any.
Maybe, yeah, from this angle, possibly. The way that Mr. Terrific is hovering, though, I don't know how comfortable that would be. It's like sort of just like sitting back. I don't know.
He just looked chill as fuck. Like, hey.
Chill as fuck, but I'm like, I would be
What
like
up?
worried that I was gonna fall back and there's nothing back there. It's kind of like that feeling of when you're leaning too far back on your chair.
And then
although
and then you start spinning.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, oh god, that's what happens in space. But dude, Nathan Fillion's like how the Green Lantern forms all these creations of his. That look, perfect. I think they nailed it. And if this is what the Lantern rings are gonna look like in action in the new DCU, then I love it, love it, love it, love it. And of course, Krypto taking on the engineer, epic. I'm sure that scene's gonna get a lot of cheers in the theaters. I can't wait for it, and maybe you'll find out if Krypto actually flies. And then, of course, we now pretty much have a good idea of what's going on here in the background. It looks like, Guy Gardner is containing whatever thing it is, and then what the purple energy is, we don't know quite yet. Who's creating that? Obviously not Superman, so we'll find out. And again, you could tell how Lois has to sort of reach up to hug Superman because he's 6 feet, 4 inches tall. And so there you go. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the quickest part of the DCU Daily. We do have to talk about something that I think is very interesting now, and this came up recently in a Fandango interview where David Corenswet was talking about this, and this was, I think, part of their promotional thing that they did at CinemaCon. But this soundbite I only came across just recently, so I don't know if you guys remember this. But James Gunn was there, David Corenswet was there, and he was saying how Superman is actually fostering Krypto, John. So he's just been taken care of. It's like in this foster situation, and I mean, yeah, Krypto. He loves dogs. He says there, as most people do. But Krypto is just described as somebody who's kind of like the worst dog in the world, like James Gunn described him. He's always destroying things, including this showed a sequence of CinemaCon. He was destroying the Fortress of Solitude. He's hunting wildlife, getting himself into all kinds of trouble. Of course, fighting the engineer, which I'm sure Superman appreciates that. And while Superman, has a really close affection and love for Krypto, Krypto needs Superman more than I guess Superman needs Krypto. That's the description there. But the biggest thing, the key thing here is he's fostering Krypto, John. So
Yes.
so who is he fostering Krypto for? Who does Krypto actually belong to? Is this a permanent situation? I'm like, or is he keeping the seat warm, or in a matter of speaking, for a certain other super character? What do you think?
It's okay, so it seems like there's literally, unless they like in this version, like in Titans, where they're like Krypto is like an experiment, and like he, took him from somebody else, but now he has powers. The only other viable option is Supergirl. Like, it's her dog, and maybe World in her own movie, and she's like, take care of my dog, I'm gonna head out. So that's entirely possible. And then like maybe the post-credit scene or the cameo with her is like, oh hey Kara, how was your adventure in space? She's like, I have a journey to fucking tell you. And then it cuts, and then that leads into Woman of Tomorrow. So that could work. So yeah, so it seems like that's the case. That's what was kind of set up. That's what Woman of Tomorrow does feature Krypto, I believe. So there is the connection of like Supergirl has Krypto. It's her dog. And
you know what? That would lend more credence to the story that we did, where on HBO Max they have listed Millie Alcock as part of the cast for Superman, and practically confirming that she's in the movie. How much or where in the movie she shows up, we don't know yet. But I guess if going off the comics, maybe it is true that Superman is just fostering Krypto. But I mean, hey, I'm sure he's gonna miss him when he's gone. It's also kind of changes up the context of the line where Lois, kind of asks him in the new trailer, so you have a dog? It's like even Lois doesn't know. So I wonder, like, do you think he keeps Krypto in or around the Fortress of Solitude all the time, or do you think
probably
Krypto gets to go hang out at the Kent Ranch? I don't know. Like, what do you think? That's an
well, I mean, he does hang out a bit, because we saw that scene. You have a dog, and then he's wagging his tail on his chest. So it seems like he does pop in there, but it feels like he's mostly in the fortress, if I were to take a guess.
Yeah, because it seems like he doesn't bring him along. Because you'd imagine that like he would bring him along to Metropolis, where he lives and works, I imagine. But maybe not. Or maybe we find out early in the show, and then maybe Lois gets to meet Krypto. That'll be interesting to see. But guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you think this is actually confirmation at this point that Krypto is Kara's dog, it's Supergirl's dog, and Superman is just fostering him while Kara's away on her cosmic adventure that we get to see in her movie next year? Let us know in the comments what you think. But in the meantime, we have to switch focus to our main event of the DCU Daily. And today I figured that, hey, it's been a while since we've done a fan casting, and recently James Gunn has mentioned that there's a positive development on the front of one of the 4 pillars of DC, as per David Zaslav. And of course, we're talking about Wonder Woman. She's the only character of the 4 pillars that we don't currently have an actual official project announced for, because even though Paradise Lost is one of those projects, John, it's not technically meant to be a Wonder Woman project. It takes place like 1,000 years in the past, so it's maybe a prequel to what we know of as well. Wonder Woman in the present day. We have Superman, Batman, and then Supergirl. All 3 of them are set to get solo movies. The Batman movie is the only one that's not currently in production. Superman is coming out soon. Supergirl has wrapped production, is in post-production now. Wonder Woman, we know the Wonder Woman 3 script Patty Jenkins wrote a while ago got declined by Peter Safran and James Gunn when they were first in the job. There is a movie that James Gunn is writing. We don't quite know yet what it is, or I don't know if when we're going to find out. So what could that positive development be? I know some of you guys have been recently speculating it could be that they've cast a Wonder Woman, or maybe the script is done. Maybe something has happened. Maybe they've brought in a director. Maybe there's somebody else is writing that script. But given all of those possibilities, I figured let's just do an updated fan casting. I know there's a bunch of names we have thrown out there in the past, and you guys love to do fan castings. You probably have a bunch of names in your minds. Some of you guys already know who you would like to see, and you're kind of settled on those folks. And I'm sure you have some great, actresses in mind for them. But John did his big one and went and grabbed us a new list of potential Amazonian princesses.
It's for the most part new.
For the most part, yeah, it's a mix. But John, let me kind of kick it over to you as we usually do. And you've got 5 names for us and then maybe even a bonus. So let's talk about who you think at this point in time could be the best picks for, well, a new Wonder Woman in the DCU.
These are kind of like the runners-up names because we did this a while ago, and I think the one I did last time was much better names. That had like Jamie Alexander.
Way to sell the cast.
I'm just saying, like, these are, I think these are still good choices, but like for instance, Adria Arjona, she was excellent. I've heard excellent things about her from Andor. She was
amazing as Bix.
I watched her in Good Omens. She was great in that. That was the first thing I like saw of her, and I'm like, damn, this woman's really good.
She was in Pacific Rim Uprising, which was a terrible
Never
sequel,
watched it,
but she was a part of that one.
But she is a terrific actress, and she's been the biggest fan casting. And this is the one I agree with. Like, Batman gets like Jensen Ackles and Alan Ritchson, like guys who can act, and it's like, all right, and it's like, but this one I agree with. She has the look, she has the talent. Maybe she needs to bulk up a little bit, obviously, because, and Belko Experiment, which James Gunn wrote. I mean, she was saying, I owe my career to him. So, I never saw Belko Experiment, so I don't know how it is. I've heard like it's kind of a love it or hate it affair. Like some people love the insanity of it. Some people don't like it. But I thought, I thought she was excellent in the things I've seen her in. And I think she would be a great addition to the DCU.
Yeah, I mean, she's also dating Jason Momoa, who's like, of course,
man has excellent taste.
So, yeah, don't blame him. I'm sure a lot of us out there are envious of his choices. But yeah, she's a great actor. I think of the names that we're gonna go through, she might be the best actress as well in the bunch, and also the other names that we have gone over in the past. Her part as Bix in Andor was. I mean, in season 1 was great. Season 2 even better. And honestly, by the way, you see Andor's deceased mom's photo on the top right there. She used to play one of the Dursleys in Harry Potter. Forgot her name.
Fiona Shaw?
Fiona Shaw, yes. Right there. You see her photo?
Oh, I didn't realize that was supposed to be her.
That was her. That was supposed to be her. She dies for the rebellion, in service of the rebellion in the season 1. Spoiler alert. But also spoiler alert.
I mean, I was never going to watch this show.
If you haven't finished watching Andor season 2 yet, Adria Arjona's Bix is not done yet with the franchise, because even though Andor dies in Rogue One, apparently he didn't die without leaving behind a legacy. And if you know what I mean, Bix kind of left him at one point because she was like, I'm making the decision for the both of us, because he wanted to leave the rebellion and just go live life with her. And she was like, well, I think you belong here and they need you, so I'm going to leave. And as it turns out, she left pregnant, and her child and her are surviving on another planet, and probably
so they pulled a Better Call Saul. They pulled the Better Call Saul. You thought Kim Wexler was gonna die this whole time because she's never mentioned or never seen in Breaking Bad. They're like, oh, this bitch is gonna die, and nope.
That's what we all
turns
thought.
out she lived.
She lived, and like she lived on this planet that they should. I forgot the name of this planet. Somebody let me know in the chat or the comments. But yeah, I now want to see like Adria Arjona, like her. And then her and her baby, whatever they call him, maybe he becomes Poe Dameron. That's the rumor that's how they're gonna tie it into the new trilogy of movies. But the pistol she uses in the season 2 of Andor, that's the same pistol we see Cassian Andor use in season not season 2, but she uses it in season 2, and then he uses it at the end of Rogue One when he shoots Krennic with that pistol. So again, a little bit of a crossover.
I heard she was great in Hitman too.
She was, yeah. That was a great movie, and people. I mean, one of those Netflix movies that people actually loved. And she was in.
Blink Twice. Heard that was great. Twice, yeah. So,
I mean, great pick. I mean, I guess we're starting out strong here, John. So like,
yeah. I mean, this is the one I already mentioned before, but Yeah. So the other four actresses I have not mentioned before. So these I think would be good. They're all in their 30s. I think that would be a good
Hmm.
range of um range because I feel like that's what they're going to go with. I don't think they're going to go with someone too old. Doesn't make sense. And she's usually stays young, so it's like, all right, they'll probably pick someone in their 30s because I know they're probably going to pick a Batman in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. So the next one I have, she is no stranger to superhero projects, and considering that the superhero project is never going to see the light of day ever again,
That's
I went
unfortunate, though.
with May Calamawy. She was
Kalamaui?
in Moon Knight.
Yeah. Yep.
She played a character. I don't remember the name of the character because it's an original character for the show, but based on a character from the comics, like based around that character. But yeah, I heard she was great in this. And the superhero prowess certainly helps.
Hmm.
And I think she has the look, and I would like to believe she has the talent, even though I haven't really seen her in a lot. But and then she also had a show called Remy, I think that was apparently really good. So I think she would be a good choice for the role of Wonder Woman. I think because she's a little bit more well known, but not like too well. I don't think they're gonna pick a huge like A-lister for Wonder Woman. So
Yeah. I mean,
I
and
think
her
she
acting
would be a
chops
good
were
pick.
good from what we saw in Moon Knight. And as far as like again, you want to have a Wonder Woman who probably comes from like I don't know like where they're gonna say um Themyscira is, whether it's in the Mediterranean or not. But I mean, they cast Gal Gadot because she had the accent and everything, and I feel like
Yeah, I mean, she's great. She's Egyptian Palestinian.
yeah, Egyptian.
So
So
I think as
it's
long as you go with some, I mean, Wonder Woman is like such like you can really go. You can someone go
you
with
can kind of go with
ethnic. You
anything.
cannot.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Just get a
Hmm.
talented and I know this is going to sound very one dimensional, but a very beautiful actress. Obviously, you're not going to
Yeah.
get like
Yeah.
yeah, she's an Amazonian. She has to look,
Yeah.
that's and I feel like she uses that to her advantage. I think that's an integral part of the character.
Yeah.
Like people don't expect, oh, this pretty little chick,
Hmm.
she can't do much, but then she is one of, if not the best fighter in the DC universe, and so that helps her. And I think she would be, since the shit fucks down the street didn't treat you well, will treat you well because Moon Knight is like one of like Marvel's best characters, and they're like, and we have like one of the best actors working today
I
under our
can't,
belt.
dude.
Let's not give him another season or give him
I
another
don't
appearance. Like,
understand. That show had a really bad landing. Although in that finale, her character was one of my favorite parts. Like I think May Calamaui like did a great job with what she was given. Even Oscar Isaac. I mean, I don't blame the actors for what happens on that show. I would love to see her. I think she was a fantastic actress and an undiscovered talent, underrated in many ways, and I think she could make a great Wonder Woman. I mean, she's got the acting chop. She's beautiful and like she could probably get into the kind of shape that you would need to play the character, the physicality of the role. Gal Gadot did a great job with that aspect of it, and I think Mia Calamaui, having had that pedigree now, working for Marvel, doing some of her own stunts in that show, yeah, she could do great. Great pick, John. That's another great one you can add to the list.
yeah. So that, and she's 38, by the way. She's the oldest one out of this entire list.
She doesn't look
But
it.
no,
She
she
does
doesn't.
not look it. So,
So the next one I have, we talked about her in the past because she posted a, I think she's like posted a cosplay of it, and we talked about it, and she mentioned that she would be interested. So the next one I have is Jessica Green. She's been in a couple of things. She's currently in the new Librarian show, and as well as another show called The
yeah, is that like a
Outpost.
revival that they're doing of that
It's
show?
a continuation. It's like they've had like
Oh, okay.
4 or 5 librarians shows. It's like ridiculous.
I forgot.
Um,
I still remember the OG one, and I don't know. Okay, I guess that franchise has been Go ahead. You're saying.
but yeah, again, it's like she's been in like some CW stuff. I know that's like an easy target, but I've heard she's great, and she's kind of has those attributes. She kind of looks like a discount Megan Fox a little bit.
You know what? That's actually, as mean as that might sound, it's actually kind of true.
But I think she has the look down. I
She
think
looks
she
like a
has.
video game character.
Oh shit, she was in Ash versus the Evil Dead. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
She was in it for like 5 seconds, but I think she definitely has look for it. I think she probably is. I mean, here's the thing with acting ability. Your bar is Gal Gadot. It's
How are
not
you
a
gonna go
high
there?
bar.
Dude, you're gonna okay. I know
Like,
you were
I'm
gonna go
sorry,
there.
she's a model. She's not an actress. She can work in Fast and Furious. She was, for the most part, pretty like she was good in Wonder Woman. She was okay in BVS. She was not great in in Wonder Woman 84. She was pretty good outside of the infamous line in Justice League.
Hello,
But
no, Caleb, come on. I know you're in the chat doing that right now. Come on, man.
but I think she would be a good addition. Again, I tried to pick women that were like kind of sort of well known for a couple things, but not like hugely like popular. Adria Arjona is the like biggest name on this list. So, but she did mention how she would be open to it. I think it was like from a cosplay on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think
it
she would
doesn't
nail
hurt
it.
that she publicly has said she would like to do this, and
Yeah.
it would be the biggest role of her career up until now. So, but hey, James Gunn has not been above taking fan castings and turning them into reality. So,
Right.
very possible. Yeah. Where do we go from here, John? Three great options, all different ones, all good picks.
Yeah. So the next one I have, this one I can actually properly judge again because I've actually seen her and stuff. But so the next one I have, I think fits the physique the most. That's Katie O'Brien because she is a bodybuilder and she's a martial artist. Now I saw her in the film Love Lies Bleeding. Not a good movie. But she was good in it. She was phenomenal in it.
She was in The Mandalorian. This is an image from there.
Yeah. So boom, there you go.
Yep.
She's a decent name, and she was also an Ant-Man. So that's another like superhero prowess, I guess. Even though
I can tell the
movie
physique thing though.
sucked.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
looks
like she's built like a
much
tank.
built.
Like
Dang, yeah.
in Love Lies Bleeding, she played a bodybuilder, so she was even more like, I'm sure you could find a picture in here somewhere of her. Yeah, there you go. She was at a bodybuilding competition in that movie.
Damn.
So she did a really good job, and I was like, because I didn't know this actress. Like I knew Kristen Stewart, like she was the other character in the movie. She was good. Like Kristen Stewart, I'm not going to act like she's the worst actress ever or something like that. I thought she was pretty good in that. But Katie O'Brien acted circles around her. It was like not even close. But it just like it was one of those movies that unfortunately it didn't have much of a plot, and it was just kind of meandering around for like most of it, and they didn't really know what to do because it was just like this couple here played by Stewart and O'Brien were like they're like bodybuilders and they start like using steroids. She kind of goes crazy, and like then she's kind of like part of this like crime ring. It's a weird movie. I don't watch it. It's okay. It's fine, but it's
By the way, sidebar, that crazy probe robot is the same design that they had in like the original Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back on Hoth when they go searching for Luke in the Mandalorian. Sorry.
But yeah.
Look, she physically, yes. She's practically an Amazonian right there. Where's this from? Oh yeah, Ant-Man. Okay, yeah. Quantumania. I haven't seen that movie.
So yeah, I think she would be. I know she usually sports short hair, but just give her a wig and then boom.
Dude, we saw it Love Lies Bleeding and in Quantumania. She can pull off the look.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and there you go. She was in Black Lightning too. She was already in a DC project.
Okay, all right. She was.
There you go.
Right,
perfect. Cool. But I think she would rock it. I think
But is she tall enough, John?
I don't know if she's 6'2" or whatever.
I think that's good enough. I think that's basically Gal Gadot territory.
I would say Adria Arjona is probably my favorite, but if you want to really go out of the box, I would pick Katie O'Brien. I think like acting ability and like the fact that she's already a martial artist and a bodybuilder, so she has the Amazonian physique.
Dude, she's also got a very strong jawline.
Yes.
And it's like she exudes strength. Like that's you were saying. Continue.
But yeah, no, I think she would be excellent. So like sort of like an out of the box kind of pick, I guess.
Okay. Well, then we got one more name, and then I think we might have a bonus. But where are we going to next, John? Can this next pick be any different, any more different than the last?
I think so the one I have, the final one I have, again, very small, very small, much smaller actress, kind of like Jessica Green a little bit, but the last one I have is Phoebe Tonkin. So
Okay.
she's been in a lot of CW stuff, and again, she's kind of in like a lot of middling, not great stuff. The thing I know from is H2O, Just Add Water. I did watch that show. Don't fucking judge me.
Hey, look, I actually have seen that show back in the day as well, and I do recognize her from that. I don't judge you, John. This is a judgment.
It was a good show. And hey, look,
it's
Jake Sully.
Jake
But she's
Sully.
been in like a lot of
Man.
like kind of smaller indie productions, and she's, you know, she's a working actress, but again, this would be like big, huge break. Again, has the look. I think she would need to bulk up a little bit. And I think she's a good she's not the greatest actress ever, but this was kind of like, I was kind of like trying to find a one final pick. And I thought, I'm not saying she couldn't do it, but I think she would be fine.
Pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
like,
she would be fine.
There's H2O.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
my god, 2006. Dude, remember Jetix? Remember that?
Jetix.
Before Disney Plus?
Yeah.
It was so edgy. And it was like, yeah, she was one of the
Jetix, or like Disney XD, like that kind of thing. That was a good show. I don't care what
I feel
says.
like these other actresses have been in stuff too. Like the one on the left maybe was in Power Rangers. She's obviously on the far right here. Yeah, damn. Back in the day, man, you dug deep for this one. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's been in some she was recently in a movie called Tomorrow the War Began, where it's kind of like a Red Dawn-esque kind of movie where it's like a bunch of teenagers, a bunch of young adults like are like against like this army that invades their town kind of thing. But yeah, so I saw that. I'm like, oh, that can like add into the whole Wonder Woman thing of like, oh, part of war and that kind of thing. But yeah, I know it's silly because, you know, this actress that's like, it was in this silly Australian show that nobody remembers except me. And it's like, but I think
it. Dude,
I think she can, like, that kind of gives me the vibe of Wonder Woman a little bit. So yeah, I think she would do a good job. She's not like, she's probably my least favorite out of all of these, but like, I think like Arjona and Katie O'Brien would probably be out of this list. Those are my top two.
Yeah, but you know what I also remember back then they had this show called Totally Spies, which was animated. I'm like, yes, I think that was Nickelodeon actually, but not that she was in it or anything like that. I'm like, I remember those two shows. Like, I mean, Powerpuff Girls and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, H2O. But I think Phoebe Tonkin is a great name. Tonkin, I should say. Phoebe Tonkin. Is she Australian? Is that she? Okay, cool. I'm like, that name sounds.
Most of them are. I think Jessica Green is as well.
Wow. Okay.
So they're not most of them. Half of them are. But yeah, I think then the final one I picked would be an unknown. Like, don't go with a name. Just go with someone who hasn't made a name for himself, just kind of auditioning, and then I think that would add to it. Like, but the thing is, they're already going with an unknown for Superman, relative unknown, so they might want to like bump that up with both Batman and Wonder Woman by picking bigger names. So that I could see them doing that as well. But whatever they do pick, will hopefully be better than Maxwell Lord. You have to give up the stone, or whatever the fuck she said.
Dude, here's the thing. I will forever defend the first Wonder Woman movie as one of the best DC movies ever. Minus, I mean, even the third act like had some crazy stupid shit in there, but like that's one of those things where you could tell the studio got in the way of what should have actually been, and there have been reports about how they were gonna do things differently. But yeah, the first Wonder Woman movie was still amazing, and you could tell Gal Gadot. Yeah, they had Chris Pine there to kind of like pull a lot of the weight in some of the scenes, but I mean, Gal Gadot did the job. Like, you know, they played to her strengths, and she's obviously beautiful, had the physique for the job, and she was great doing a lot of her own stunts, like the physicality, the movements that it required for her with like the armor and stuff. I don't know if the new Wonder Woman is gonna have the sword and the shield, or are they gonna even in 1984 like they went with like a much more like she's got the lasso and then that's about it. She doesn't have the shield or the sword.
I prefer that actually. But I mean, also, by the way, I forgot to mention this. But Katie O'Brien is going to be in the Final Reckoning, so there is that, and she's going to be in the Running Man. So
Okay,
Katie O'Brien's
hey,
already
moving up
making
in
a
the
name
world.
for herself.
You know what? Like that might make it more likely that she ends up picking up the role. Maybe that's the positive development that James Gunn was talking about. Who knows? I
Yeah,
mean, look,
maybe.
I forever will like look back and say the casting in the DCEU. Yeah, she wasn't the best actress, but I think she still was a great pick for the Wonder Woman we did get, and they could
Yes.
have done a lot worse. Like it's, I mean, I don't think it was a disaster or anything. So, and she said that Gal Gadot would love to come back. I mean, for all we know, we were doing all these fan casting, and James Gunn just said we're bringing her over, and you know, like it's maybe some of the two movies still are canon, except the modern day stuff didn't have. I don't know. He's done it with other actors, so who knows? But I'm guessing they're gonna go in a new direction. But if they had to pick one, I mean, John, of the 5 options you did give us, I mean, the unknown you can't pick because that's an unknown by definition. Of the 5 that you picked out today, whether it's Adria Arjona, May Calamawy, Jessica Green, Katie O'Brien, Phoebe Tonkin, which of the names do you think is the most likely, or which is the one that you would most like to see as Wonder Woman?
I think Adria Arjona is out of those. I think makes the most sense. I think she's the best actress. I think she has one of the, I would say Katie O'Brien looks physically the most like Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But I think Adria Arjona is the better actor. Don't get me wrong, Katie O'Brien is a really, really good actress. Like, I'm not trying to like say that, but like I think both are really good. I think Adria Arjona is slightly better. But she has the muscles and she has the ability to actually fight. So that, not saying she doesn't, I'm sure she like has picked up some stuff like for Andor and other movies and shows that of like how to fight and stuff like that. But apparently Katie O'Brien is like a trained martial artist, I think. So yeah, she received her black belt in Hapkido. So that's pretty awesome. I don't know what that is. It's like Taekwondo, but not. So that's really awesome. So
I mean, it's a hard one to pick because James Gunn has worked with Adria Arjona before.
Yeah, that
Katie
too.
O'Brien
That also helps.
Does great credentials and a rising star. Maybe if I was a betting man, if I had to bet on this, probably wouldn't bet a ton of money. But if I had to pick, I would say Adria Arjona's past and even her present association with Jason Momoa, and also just having worked with James Gunn before. James Gunn, and much like many directors and filmmakers, they tend to go with the people they worked with before because they trust them, they know them. That's kind of how I guess the world works in general. But I mean, if anything, if there's any kind of an edge for any of these actresses in between them, I think Adria Arjona probably has that edge, that she's got a history having worked with James Gunn before. So if he had to make a recommendation, that might end up being the difference. But again, it all depends on the kind of Wonder Woman they're going for as well, because it's not just like, I mean, they're all great actresses, but it's like who's going to be the best fit for the version of the character that they're writing.
Right.
So that's ultimately what it comes down to. And whether it is Adria Arjona, who I think is for both of us probably the best pick here. I mean, I also love May Calamawy. I think she would be a great pick, but maybe, I mean, I don't think age is going to be as much of a concern.
No, I don't think so either.
Even though she's the oldest
they
of the
picked
bunch.
a 60-year-old Hal Jordan. Like, come on.
Yeah. So look, whoever they go with, of the names that you've chosen here or the names we've talked about in the past, let us know in the comments down below who you think would be your pick. I think they're all really legitimate options and they could all do great. And while you're at it, guys, hit the like button like Enterprising is telling you to down below the video. And if you are new here, just know that we are here doing this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We don't do, fan castings every day, but we do them every once in a while. And we feel this
you said do.
Yeah. This is about the right time to do one for Wonder Woman because we haven't done it in a while, and it looks like there might be some positive developments on that front for the DCU. So with that, John, thank you as always, and thank you guys for watching as always, getting in the live chat, and then let us know in the comments down below, what do you think? Who's your pick for Wonder Woman? And what do you think about all the Superman news? Do you think that Superman is fostering Krypto for Kara? Let us know in the comments, and well, we'll check out those comments and bring them in for the next Q&A session that we do, which we do every Friday here on the show. So be sure to stick around for that. And yeah, we'll see you next time for that and so much more on another episode of DCU Daily.